Hello and good morning. This is Andy McCann here on Fitness, Food, and Finance, where I'm trying to help you lay a firm foundation in those three things. And we're going to go back into finances. So these should have come out back to back, but there's just an interesting thing that is out there in terms of like, hey, how do I earn money? How do I go for retirement? How do I prepare? What streams of incomes do I really need? And let me say this super clear. The biggest and best stream of income is the one that you're doing. So whatever it is, dial into that. I would say that if you're employed by somebody and they're paying you, so you're a W-2 employee, if you went to the owner or the next level up or whatever and said, how can I make you more money? They would be ecstatic to hear that. And if you could make them money, they would probably pay you more money. There are probably some questions you can ask yourself to make your job more robust, more important, deliver more resources. I don't know what those questions are, but it usually starts with how or why, and it goes from there. How can I be faster? Why do we do it this way? How many people do we buy from? Why do we buy from them? Whatever, right? There's things that you can do. If I had a business that employed a bunch of people like that, I don't know, let's say we were making wheels for cars. I would want people that showed up early and left late if they were going to the office, or had a productive level that was equivalent to that. So I don't really care when you work. I just care that you're all in when you work. So if I were to call you and you're supposed to be working, you're not like, well, I'm at the beach just screwing around. You're actually doing your job. So that's the first thing, is make sure you're doing your job, then ask the questions. But there are some other things that go out there, and I'm going to go into multi-level marketing businesses in a moment, but we're going to cover, maybe, I don't know if we'll cover all these slides. We're going to start with this one because I think it's pretty important. So if you're watching this, great. If you're listening, well, just pay attention or go to the YouTube video. It's a video. If you go to @AndyMcCann42 on YouTube, or if you just want the podcast version, just look for Fitness, Food, and Finance on any of your podcast hosts. Okay, so what they don't tell you. So this has got like a flow chart, and it's saying, hey, the poor have an income statement. It's basically their income is their salary. And that's a misnomer. Are you poor because the only thing you've got is a salary, a W-2 job? No. You are poor if that's all you're spending on, right? So if you're spending everything that you've got, then yeah, that's a problem. So basically, there's your income, then you have expenses, taxes, rent, food, transportation, clothes, etc., all those expenses. And then you divide up your life into assets and liabilities, where you don't really have any assets. I would say that your house does not actually count as an asset. So you listen to Robert Kiyosaki, one of my favorite guys. He'll tell you, hey, your house isn't an asset because it's not earning you money. It's a liability. It goes against you, right? So I agree. I know most people don't agree with that, but I agree. I'm also big in Dave Ramsey, get out of debt. Two very biblical principles: buy assets and get out of debt. I love that stuff. These two guys break it apart, Robert Kiyosaki and Dave Ramsey. Go listen to those guys. Anyway, so poor people don't buy assets. They buy toys. They have a lot of liabilities. In the middle class, you have still your job for your salary. Then you've got expenses, the same thing. Maybe you're elevated your expenses. You got a lot of subscriptions now. But potentially, you create a lot of liabilities. Your mortgage, a car loan, debt payments, school loan. So weirdly, sometimes a poor person, like quote, quote, poor, could be more wealthy than a middle class because they don't carry all this debt loading. Now, debt, I know you're like, hey, doesn't debt accelerate your ability to do stuff? Yep, it sure does. And if you look at our money, it says this is good for one debt or to pay debt. It's actually not backed by gold or anything like that anymore. It's just backed by the government saying, yeah, we'll back that debt. So that's a whole different conversation about what is money. Go look that up. I think there's a book, The Monster at Jekyll Island. So it's back when they created the Federal Reserve Bank, which has nothing to do with the Federal Reserve. It's just a private company that basically controls our interest rates. Anyway, middle class. The tendency there is to spend beyond your means, and the only means you have is this salary. So this is where we get into something different. And I'll probably pause inside of this one and cover some of these MLMs because I think it's a great way to have something else and to be able to write off expenses for something else. So in this case, you're like, hey, maybe I'm running the edge line of income and expenses, and I need to save some money. So this is where the MLMs and those sort of things would come in. But first, a rich income statement. So the rich folks are going to have probably a salary, right? So that's okay. It's coming in. There's rental income, a dividend, royalties, just all sorts of things that are coming into them that aren't necessarily directed from the specific job they do. Now, on this sheet, they actually don't have salary. I think that's kind of dumb. You should still have some sort of salary. You should do something, right? Until Well, I take that back. You should do something until it doesn't make any sense. So let's say you're making $100,000 a year and you've got enough income coming in that you can cover all of your expenses plus, yet the job is taking your time. So if you want to give back to your family, then you could let go of that job and just rely on the other things you're doing. So if that's an equation you'll have to come up with on your own. Well, your expenses then are going to be the same sort of stuff, taxes, mortgage payments, loans, and all that. The difference is you're going to use your assets and liabilities to kind of offset some of those expenses. So when you have real estate, there's a whole lot of different tax things you can get a hold of that will give you an advantage. So ask if you don't have your own CPA, let me know. Doug is now coming to the gym and he is a CPA and we can get you connected. If you have a small business, you should be using them. Carlotta started coming to the gym and she is with 7 Ledgers. She has her own bookkeeping business. Bookkeeping and CPA are different. Sometimes you get the same person doing both things, but usually not. CPA takes more degrees. Bookkeeping is a little bit more tedious. So you just have to figure out where do you want the TDM to be in the actual work of getting the information in or the schooling so that you're certified and all that. Okay. So you also have a different income statement when it comes to stocks. So you could sell some stocks that you know are losers and then take a loss on that so that your income kind of drops down. So there's all these things you can do. I don't actually do all that. I have somebody that does it for me because it gets super complicated and I don't know all the rules and I don't want to go to jail. So I want an expert to do it to keep me out of Club Fed. So I do know that like we use property and I'm going to talk about businesses to remove some of the expenses. So typically what happens is, let's say you make $100,000. The government, as a W-2 employee, the government says, I'm going to tax you on $100,000. Let's say they take $20,000. You're left with 80, and then you can spend that. Do whatever you want. Now, conversely, if you were a 1099 employee, they would say, hey, you made $100,000. And then you get to expense anything and everything that's semi-related to the work you do. I mean, you can't cheat on that. You'll go to jail for that. But you know what I'm saying? So like if you bought a cell phone or a computer, you could totally put that in there and it'll erase those. Yes, we should have talked about that last week. Anyway, so you want to have these expenses. And I don't think at that time I went through the MLMs. I think I said I would cover them this time. So that's what we're going to do. And I know I've talked about this before because it's such a dang good idea. If you're going to have a business like the gym, well, I mean, there's rent on that. And I'm signed up for 5 years of rent. Let's see. It's basically $6,000 a month times 12. So that's $72,000 a year times 5. So I don't know, like $400,000 that I'm on the hook for 5 years. So I take that huge risk and I break that up down into you guys. So say, hey, your slice of the pie is $200. I should earn some money out of this because I'm taking a huge risk creating the environment. Yeah, I do it kind of incorrect. I don't pay myself. I should, but the gym doesn't make that much money because the rent doubled and we just haven't really figured out a great way to get through that. I'm still looking to buy a building. I think that would fix it. But anyway, that's where we're at. So would I say go for a gym style business? Probably not. One, there's a lot of exposure. So anybody could hurt themselves and say, hey, we're coming after you. That's why we have insurance. And we tell you don't do stupid stuff. But still people do stupid things. There's also the note that I have to cover and then all the other gear and so forth. And then there's just planning it out and all that, like who's coaching what and all that. It's rewarding, but it's not the easiest one to do. Again, going to easy, I would say have something, and that something I think could be a multi-level market kind of setup. So if you're like me, if you're 50, then you'll probably remember this one. There was one called Mary Kay that your mother probably did. It's still around, and they have claims of making a ton of millionaires. Is it true? Honestly, I have no idea. I don't know anything about these companies really, except for I've seen them with my eyes operate. So what do you need to have to be part of Mary Kay? You just sign up under somebody. They'll give you some information. They kind of instruct you. So it's a loose network of sales folks that bring you up, hopefully, for products you should already use. So that would be my big thing is don't just do Mary Kay. Like I should not do Mary Kay. I'm not female and I don't wear makeup. So it's just a bad fit for me. There'd be not very much trust there, right? So do a thing that makes sense to you. And I'm sure there's, I feel like there's probably a multi-level marketing option out there for nearly everything. I did ask ChatGPT, give me a rundown of a few of them. So the things that it came up with were Amway, which I didn't pull that one up. That's been around the longest. I think they do like soap and things like that. And Herbalife, which I have never even heard of, is dietary supplements, protein shakes and stuff. New Skin I have heard of, but I haven't done anything with them. It's skincare. And then Tynes Group, also called Tynesha or something. It's again, dietary supplements. And then QNet. It's watches, health products. So it could be like literally anything out there. I did ask you to also give me some like different categories. So again, Amway, I already said that, Herbalife, New Skin, Avon Cosmetics, Mary Kay Cosmetics, USANA Health Sciences, that's nutrition plans, Young Living, that's essential oils, doTERRA, essential oils. My wife did that one. We'll cover that one in a second. Vorwex, that's the vacuum one. I think we did do that. Well, we didn't do it. We own one of the water-based vacuum cleaners or something, and it's freaking awesome. We don't use it as much now, but dude, that thing sucks up so much stuff, it makes you feel disgusted in your own house. Primacare, which is that's interesting, a financial service, insurance, and investments. Fascinating. I don't think I'd want that one to be in a multi-level marketing. I want experts to invest my money. I asked it for a couple more. I don't even know what these are. There's so many out there. Like, hey, I'm into nail polish. There's one called Color Street. It's nail polish, cosmetics, and so forth. Greenway Global, home care, beauty, right? So you get the idea. It's usually products that you use and consume, and you would be buying them anyway. So the big part is, do I enjoy them? Actually, you know what? Let me do a thing. Like, is there an multi-level marketing for rock climbing? Let's see. See if ChatGPT can pull one of those up. I would say no, but I mean, it seems like, seems like there might be. Let me read this real quick. Okay, it was actually saying, no, there isn't. It's probably too niche. And that's it. So you want something that everybody would buy. Okay, so back into Mary Kay. Are you interested in that stuff? Do you use cosmetics? Could you try them out? Does it have to be Mary Kay? No, there's tons of them out there. Try these things and then just start selling them. And here's why you would sell it. If you're going to buy them anyway, then rep them a little bit and see how it goes for you. Then you have a business that you can expense things off of. So now it's opened you up to the Limited Liability Corporation, the things you can do inside of those businesses that you can't do unless you have one. So rich people have LLCs. They use the LLC to buy things that they need for the business that maybe I could also use for home. So in this case, I'm using the skincare products anyway, right? You know what? That's interesting. We could turn the gym into an MLM. How would that work? So I like the gym. I pay for the gym, but I guess it would be a referral program, right? I bring somebody in and then I make money off of their tuition or their membership. So yeah, I guess that's a referral program. So what's the difference between an MLM and a referral program? I'll have to look that up. Okay, another one that you could try that we have used in the past is Pampered Chef. I think my wife actually belongs to a lot of these as a consumer. So typically the line is sort of like vague. Are you a consumer or are you part of their business? I think there's some sort of discounts you can get if you're part of the business, even though you don't actually have to do the business, right? You just be like, I'm signed up. So we use Pampered Chef products. It's usually like cookware. It's, I guess we initially started doing it when we wanted baking pots and pans and things like that. So, man, what do you even call that? They call it a stone. So like I used to make a lot of cookies. I'd make cookies on this stone. So instead of having a metal pan, it was basically a stone pizza dish, and I'd make the cookies on top of that, and everyone was like, these cookies are delicious. Well, one, we made them from the bread bakers, like whole food, whole grains, all that stuff. But two, I think it was the stone. It just cooked them differently and better. Anyway, so Pampered Chef, if you cook and you're like, I use different products, I want to try different things, then try this, right? Why not? You already use the stuff, and I can then sell it on to other people. Again, it gives you the opportunity. This one would be perfect if you love to eat, because then you can expense a lot of the food. Like, hey, I'm going to practice testing this out. Ask your CPA, or if you don't have one, again, let me know. I'll get you one. But ask him what you can actually expense. I don't really know all the rules. I just know that I track a lot of things for my businesses, and I pass them back to the CPA. It's not a question of if I can expense it. The better question is to ask your CPA, how can I expense this? So, for example, can I expense a gun for the garage? Probably the answer is no. Now, if I asked him, how could I expense a gun from the garage? That's a different question. And now they're like, okay, so the easy answer is no, you can't. But if you were to say how, then we need to come up with something you're doing that requires you to have that gun. So let's say I'm making this up because I know this wouldn't happen, but I am going to start doing CrossFit, coaching a class inside of Cherokee Prison, right? So up on Univetter, there's a prison, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to, coach a CrossFit class. Okay, well, I'm going to a place where there's inmates. I probably should have a gun. I know you can't take a gun into a jail, but just go with me, right? So if I offered my service to a place that then required me to carry, like, hey, I don't know, I'm going to some super sketchy neighborhood that's full of child predators. I don't know. That's really horrible. I don't even like that thought. But whatever, I'm going, right? So now maybe I need to have a gun because it's an unsafe environment. So now they're saying, okay, that actually makes sense. It's a legitimate business expense if you expand your business. So Pampered Chef. Do you eat? I mean, yes, we eat. Everybody eats. You can then expense like, hey, I would like to go. I don't know. We just bought a half a cow, put it in a refrigerator. Could I expense it through doTERRA? Actually, you know what I could do is say I'm making material. So this stuff, everyone should also have a podcast or a YouTube channel. YouTube channel would be free. So podcast, there's a little bit of cost to it. Anyway. And you could say, hey, I just bought a cow. This is how it works. And this is some of the food I'm cooking. Here are the steaks I'm making. Here are the refrigerator I had or the freezer I had to purchase to keep it. So I could expense all those things. I don't. I should, but I don't. I know you're saying, wait, Andy, you just said you should do those things. Yes. Many times I just forget. So what I would recommend is having a totally different credit card. That's not a credit card, it's a Post-it. Then I pull up the credit card. But you should have a totally different credit card so you remember to do those things. So I do have a freezer that I legitimately bought to put a half cow in a couple of years back. And we will routinely buy half a cow, stick it in there. It's like, I don't know, like $1,900 for all the meat, something like that. Maybe, I don't know what it is, something like that. And then I could make videos off of that because my shtick is healthy living. And this is one way. I have chickens. I have that. It's healthy living. I expense sometimes the food that I get for the birds because not every time am I doing it as a business. Sometimes I'm just doing it because, hey, I should have some food out there. So I try to make it I err on the side of too legit to quit. So if there's any hint or question from me, I'm like, never mind. I don't want to go to Club Fed. Now, nobody really is ever going to check those things. So it's up to you and your CPA to figure out, hey, what's the rule of it? I think it's something like, as long as it's like 50% used for the business, then that qualifies. It's something like that. I don't actually know. You should go look that up. But anyway, Pampered Chef. Do you eat? You could get in Pampered Chef. Not only get some interesting stoneware for your cooking, but also then expense some of these things or invite people over for a tasting and you can feed people, have a party based on that, right? I know there's something called the Augusta Clause where I could rent out my own house to do a party. Yeah, we usually do, instead of a Christmas party, we usually do a summer party. And I don't expense any of that. I just buy all the stuff and put it in there. I know you're like, well, Andy, why don't you? Again, I'm just a little nervous on the side of, does it matter? I got other things going on. I'd rather not save $10 to then end up getting thrown in jail. So talk to your CPA. I do have conversations with them a lot and they're usually like, hey, did you invite anybody that wasn't from the gym? I'm like, yes. They're like, so look, now it becomes a home event. If you limited it only to the gym, so I'm like, yeah, I do want to have other people come. So my kids would come, right? And they're not actually in the gym. So it can be like a wishy-washy. All right, let's go into another one. There's another company that my wife had used. Actually, she's still involved in it. It's called doTERRA. And it is essential oils, which I'd never even heard of this. I'm going to tell you right now, she got into it because we were looking for other health options that didn't revolve around going to the doctor. As you guys probably already know, I haven't gone to the doctor. Well, I do go now because I turned 50 and I'm curious about various things, especially now that I'm doing carnivore and, I've turned 50 and just going through all that stuff. As you turn 50, you enter the drop dead years. My friends are turning up with stuff and I'm like, hey, let's just make sure. Turns out I'm doing pretty good. So anyway, one of the things she had gotten into was this doTERRA essential oils. Probably the most interesting thing two things I could tell you is, maybe three things. She makes this thing we call owie spray that will spray on any boo-boos, but it also works for if you get a sunburn. So we will spray it on us and the sunburn and all the owies, whatever, go away super quick. Is it doing what it's supposed to do? I mean, I think so. The claim is it can heal some stuff. I do a thing. I'm like, look at my skin. Now, I am not a doctor. I am just a dad who's trying to not, medicate his kids on stuff. So we would use this. I also, the other big one was oregano oil. Apparently viruses don't live around oregano. I go look it up. And so if you had a scratch or you have, I don't know, like a cold sore or something, you could put oregano on it and it would eat the viruses away, or at least it does something, and it would let the health come out rather than the virus come out. So for instance, back in 2020, when there was those 2 weeks to slow down the curve and all that, when I got sick, I did a lot of these essential oils and came out of it pretty quick. So I am relatively the least sick person I know of. I guess maybe it wouldn't come up. If you're not sick, people don't talk about not being sick. They talk about being sick. Anyway, so this doTERRA. So do we use it? Yes. Does she sell it? Yes. Does she sell it like big time? No, but she tells her other friends, hey, if you are a crunchy mama doesn't want to do a lot of medical stuff, try these things. They do stuff. Like originally, all medication came from some sort of plant, animal, or product, right, that nature made, and they just refined it down or they synthesized it. So that's kind of what these things are doing. So it's doTERRA and it's essential oils. And I mean, it goes all over the gambit of some sort of health-ish related stuff. So even if I get a sore throat, I'll gargle oregano and usually whatever it is goes away. Is it corollary or cause? Is it, just because I did it and it sort of happened? Is it just along the path, or causation? Did the oregano do the thing that they say it'll do? I feel like it's cause. Like I did it. I feel better. My throat wasn't scratchy, all that stuff. The other thing my wife makes is this thing called Mug of Nasty. And it's basically oregano and a couple other things. You put it in some steaming water and then you breathe it in. And that usually makes most of the things we get go away. So I'm usually, if I feel it coming on, I'll just drop some in a thermos and then breathe it in. And I'm usually pretty good. So should you do this as a business? I don't know. I'm just saying if you're into it, then it's a thing you could try. Now you can expense a lot of stuff. Like I have this laptop, right? I don't have a laptop, but I could expense the laptop off for doing this. I could expense my phone bill for doing this. I could expense a lot of stuff. So now you're taking the money that I'm earning and expensing out of it so that it doesn't hit you on your W-2 or your 1099 or your other forms of income, right? So you can expense those out. It's not 100% expensing. Basically, it's like a 20% savings or whatever your tax bracket is, right? Okay, so the last one I'm going to give you is something that she does do, and she has turned into a business. It's LifeWave. Their big premier product is something called X39. Again, she is Crunchy Mama. She wants a non-medical intervention. She does a lot of things to have our kids be healthy without getting poked, prodded, and going in. We don't even have a pediatrician. Our pediatrician fired us because we don't give the kids shots. And they're like, hey, we need so many percentage of our kids to be fully shotted so that we get some money. So are you ever going to get shots and get caught up? And we're like, no. So they fired us. They were very nice about it. But, it was Nurse Debbie was our primary person that we would see. But yeah, she couldn't take us anymore because we wouldn't do it. Originally, we got fired from, what was the guy's name? Dr. Roy he was down in Roswell, and I didn't realize there was such a big thing about shots. And Olivia had a weird reaction, and I asked the question. He's like, you guys can just leave. I'm like, what the hell has just happened? So super weird. Ever since then, I'm like, what? Screw you. We'll figure another way out. Anyway, I'm not saying do it my way, but we are into various ways of health. This is why I did carnivore and lion diet with Evan to fight that Crohn's diagnosis. This is why I do CrossFit all the time. I think it's just a beautiful hack to health and fitness, eating meat and doing CrossFit. Okay, so this LifeWave, they're basically patches that you put on various places that have a reflective technology. And the idea is, I know it's weird, like what? It does something to accelerate the life of your body. I don't even really know what it does. I just know this. My hair was completely white. Once my wife had me start patching, not only was it easier to the soreness from working out went away a little bit faster, but my hair started turning black again. So I'm going to lean forward in here. I know you're like, Andy, it's very white. It is. But the fact that there is black in my hair is baffling because I was pure white for a while. Go back in time and look at some pictures of me. You can see it's pure white. I went gray or white super fast and early. And this is putting, blackness back in my hair. Super strange. It's not a touch of gray. That hair product. It's literally just doing these patches. I've also seen with my own eyes, one of my nieces said I got a super bad migraine. I'm going to go into a dark room and just chill because this is killing me. And Verity's like, hold on, patch. And then within 10 seconds, she said, hey, weird, it's gone. Again, was it that? I mean, I tend to think so. Do I have any proof whatsoever? No, I'm not a doctor, but it's a different way to do life. So here's the thing that I would tell you. She has turned this passion of hers into helping people find other ways to be healthy into a real business. So I do the books for us, and I didn't get permission to say, what she's making on this, but we use it. She uses it. Her friends use it. She's into this thing a lot, and she sees a lot of benefit, but she also does it as a business, and she does better than the gym. I already told you I don't really pay myself in the gym, so that's, already better. Anybody could do better. The thing though is she bought this cool little product it's supposed to do something with water. I forgot exactly what it does, but she can expense that through the business because she uses it as a product for the business and brings people over and lets them try out this water. Super cool. It's something she wanted anyway, so we get to use it, but it came through LifeWave, and so now she can expense that out. So let's say it cost, I don't know, $1,000. I don't even know what it cost, but let's just say it was $1,000. Once you put it through the system, it comes out to about a 20% discount because that's what your taxes are, or whatever your taxes are at, right? So you have to look at that. But that's LifeWave. It's patches. The thing that I really like about this stuff is there's very low startup. Usually, like I'm looking at their website right now, I think it's like $100 you can get started with them on essential oils. Do they have a... Nah, I don't see it right on the first page. Pampered Chef. So they've got stuff under $25 you can get started. Is that what it costs to join? I don't really know. But again, it is a very low cost. Like for me, I am on the hook for what I say was like $400,000 in a lease, where my wife is on the hook nothing because she does this out of the house. Matter of fact, because she does it out of the house, she can expense part of her office. I forgot there's a new way you do your office. You just actually claim the credit. You don't have to do the square foot and all that. But then she can expense a lot of different things that go into the house because that's where her office is, right? So now you're seeing what I'm saying is it's a low cost entry to a thing that you enjoy, whatever it is. Get into ChatGPT or Google or whatever and say, I don't even know. Actually, you know what? I bet you there's one for shoes. Let me just type that in there. Is there one for shoes? Is there one for shoes or sandals, etc.? Or I should have said footwear. That's what I should have said. Let's see what chat says. Here's what I found related to... Okay, so Avon has clothing. Oh, that's interesting. Zero shoes. It's not an MLM. Okay, but they do direct selling. Not a shoe company. Yeah, so it's saying it's not really a shoe company, but there is people that do clothing. So in their clothing might also be some shoes. Actually, I'm curious now. What is the big one? So it's Avon and Amway. Let me look those up real quick. Okay, Amway didn't have one, but I got one for Avon and women's shoes. So apparently Avon has a thing. You know what? I bet you Mary Kay does too. It's on Mary Kay. Let me put in footwear. No, it's got creams and stuff, but anyway, so there's a product for everything, it seems like. Again, most of these things are super lightweight in terms of my investment in. It's usually a little bit of money and your time. The thing that you're looking to get is access to an LLC. So you can go to, I like using, let's see, I think it's called Mama Bear Legal. Yeah, Mama Bear Legal Forms, right? So you can do Mama Bear Legal Forms and you can start an LLC from there, or you can be, let's see, how do I start an LLC in Georgia? So simply look up that one. So it's 7 steps. Let's see, there's their equivalent to ChatGPT answer. Choose a name, register, file. Yeah, I mean, it's super easy. The only thing, register an LLC with the state of Georgia. So go to Georgia State Gov. The only thing is you just got to make sure somebody else doesn't have it. So in order to have an LLC, this is the secret. Get an LLC. Anybody can have one. You don't even need a business, but you need to show some sort of revenue and some sort of income. I think you have to make money sometime in 5 years. So one way to make money is don't report any of your expenses. That just means you're eating the expenses. You're saying, yeah, I made some money. So you could go to LifeWave, tell a friend, buy $100 in product. They do. And then you just have it, it's $100. And that's what I made. Don't report any, I didn't have any expenses that I want to report. Totally fine. Then you made money. They're going to tax you on that $100. But again, the idea is you get access to all the other savings that you've got. Again, talk to a CPA, bookkeeper, all that stuff to make sure it's actually correct. I'm just an unfrozen caveman lawyer. So this one says to register an LLC with Georgia Secretary of State, get prepared. So let me look at this real quick. Yeah, so pick a name and then pick a registered agent. That should be you. You'll just get the information to you. What you'll need to do is the name of the LLC, the address, email. So I do all my LLCs typically just to me, and it's totally fine. It works just fine. And then register. Look at that. Register online. So the trick to an LLC is you have to have quarterly meetings, and you need to show minutes and notes that you actually did it. So I do that every once in a while. I'll bring the kids in. We'll talk through money. So I'm very open with money in our businesses. And a lot of times they have good questions like, Dad, that sounds like a dumb business. Why are you doing it? I'm like, I know, but I get to be healthy and fit. So there. Or, they get other questions like, hey, what about this on the rental property or whatever? So it's good to talk to your kids about these things. If they're not around, I'll do the meeting anyway. I'll put it into a video format and then I'll send it to them so they can see it. And I just have a record that I did it. And here's the link to the video. It's all, private links through other services so nobody can see them. You don't want people tossing your business, right? Okay, so let me go back to what we were looking at originally. Pop, right there. Okay. So this is how the rich get this idea of, hey, how do I expense these things? I have an LLC. It's going against my income before I get taxed on it. And that is a beautiful thing. So in this picture, I would say your biggest thing is not necessarily creating different streams of income. That is nice. But I would say get something that you can expense against. And now you've got an opportunity to save a little bit of money and start there. So as an example, every coach at the gym is 1099. I do pay them, or I pay them through your funds, right? But it's 1099. So now they have access to an LLC if they want to turn it into that, and they can expense things against it. Now they could write up their taxes. I think you don't even need an LLC. You could just say it's against 1099 income, but I'm not really sure how that would work. You need to look that one up or ask a CPA. I always ask somebody, shortcut the process, ask a professional, or ask ChatGPT, do I have to have an LLC to expense stuff? Answer is maybe. I don't know. But you definitely want to be doing a thing that produces that income. So a coach, like a good example is Coach Josiah. He already has a one-on-one coaching, nutrition, online and in-person business. So he already has all of that. So I pay him, and then he could take anything he does for us and say, hey, that's an expense, right? So it's an additive. He didn't have to do anything different. Now, take Coach Josh. He's a full-time employed in some business that he just got promoted and he's doing cool stuff, and he enjoys coaching. So for him, it's just fun. But if he went, like he did go and get his level 2, he can expense that against the LLC he created. And then, instead of it costing $1,000, it costs $800 or whatever his tax bracket is, right? So it'll come off. So that's what I'm trying to get you to see is do something to create the opportunity to use the rules that are out there to get around paying for everything that all the idiots pay for. Idiots being us who just don't know. All right, let me look at these other slides, see if it's worth going through with you guys. So this is why the rich get richer. And this is the same thing. We're just buying, in this thing, it's saying, hey, rich people buy assets, real estate, stocks, bonds, notes, intellectual property. And while they do have liabilities, I'm going to say they've got a circle arrow. Basically, they can write off these things. Whereas the poor don't have anything in their asset category. So there's nothing generating for them. It's just all a bunch of expenses. So I would also tell you this. If you really want to understand where your money is going, you need to track and measure it. So get a tool like YNAB or Mint or something, QuickBooks, just like you would do for your business, do for your life. You need to know where everything is. Do you need to track forever and always? No, but I would say at least track for 2 months. That way you would see some of the recurring costs. Now, in reality, I would say track for a full year, maybe even 14 months. So you can find that thing that you forgot about that bills once a year on some date, right? So you want to be able to catch those things and say, hey, I need to get out of that. I find things all the time the kids have signed up for, or we signed up for and totally forgot about because I'll do a monthly, but it's going to do every year actually. So the monthly installment was once a year, and you just don't remember that you did it until it pops and you're like, damn it, I just spent that again. So I get to catch those things. All right. Yeah, I don't know. This one's a little bit out of my league. So this next one is a map of investments. So it's talking about equities, real estate, loans and debt, and then unconventional. So I think in this one, I'm just going to lean into the unconventional derivatives, crypto, commodities, collectibles, and currencies. So I like the idea of crypto. Now, I am am I a Bitcoin maximalist? I really think Bitcoin's the only way to go, but I'm not opposed to, speculating on other stuff. It's just like anything else. Is it going to make money? Does it make any sense? I don't know. I think it's an interesting technology. I think Bitcoin is the better way to go, but the other ones seem to be making money too. So I don't know. I don't have a great idea for you there, except that there is money to be made. But just remember, anytime you do anything, somebody's making money on you. As you get in, they get out. As you get out, they get in. So somebody's betting against you in all the things you do on that sort of side, and even in equities. So stocks and funds and stuff. Now, real estate is different. You can own the property, or you can put it into a real estate investment trust and do different things with it. I think real estate is a great way. They talk about passive income. This is probably one of the most passive ones. I've got rental property, and it's easy to do until it's not. And it's usually all at one time in a big rush. So most of the time, nothing happens. It'd be a very boring life to just hold on to those. I think it's a great way to go. The unfortunate part is it takes money. So you need money to put down and so forth. And then there's exposure against you. This is why I like the idea of these multi-level marketing like LifeWave, because there's nothing. If you decide I'm out, you're out like $100. For a rental property, if you're out and it went badly, you could be out a lot of money. All right. So the last one is the path of money. Oh yeah, this is a good one. So human capital, you work for money, W-2, or even 1099. Capital assets, your money works for you. So this is the different K1s that would come in, things that you've got that maybe would be happening whether you did it or not. So even these Mary Kay and LifeWave and all that, it's still you working for money. But on the other side of it, like, hey, I get some discounts. So that's not the money working for you, that's the legal system working for you. So anyway, you got this capital and you got assets coming in, human capital, capital assets, creating a cash flow. You can spend it, donate it, hold it, or invest it. What are you going to do with that? If you invest it, are you lending it or are you doing something to own? So a passive investment, lend like money market CDs, bonds, T-bills, own it, stock, a real estate investment trust, mutual funds, or active. I can lend, I can do some owner financing. I've never really gotten to that, but I've heard some good things there. And, again, private lending, and then active owned would be like real estate or business. So pretty much everything I do personally is active owned. Is it the best way to do it? No, I don't know. I would probably, had I to do over, I would have started when I was just getting out of college, picked, like Amway or LifeWave or something, and said, let me start here with a product that makes sense to me and build up over time. The other cool thing about those things is you can pass them on to your kids. Okay, the last thing I had up is salary negotiations. I'm not going to go through that. Don't be a dick. You only can make money when you're making money from your company. So if you're going to go in and talk to somebody, know what your actual worth is and know how much money you're generating from the company. But on the other side of it, a bunch of my friends are 50 and they're like, I just need to hold on for 10 more years. I'm like, what do you mean hold on? They're like, well, I get paid a lot. And so if they're looking to cut costs, it's easy to cut me and they cut a big cost. But they're really good at what they do. So they have to weigh that. So I would say more than negotiating for salary is negotiate your expenses. What are you spending on and what don't you need to be spending on? I know, but you could be thinking like, hey, Andy, wait, if you're saying cutting expenses, I go to your gym, I'm paying $175 a month plus whatever my credit card fee is. Shouldn't I cut that? I mean, sure, if you want to. I do care. I want you guys to be healthy and fit. I don't care if you go to the gym. We sell coaching and community and the environment that you're in there at the gym. Do you have to have that? No. But what's the trade-off? Most of the time, most of the people, when they build out their own home gym, mostly don't use it. Most of the people get old and fat and they don't continue. Doing something where you're putting your money where your mouth is and going and doing it, the health benefits are freaking awesome. I don't have any drug expenses. I don't have any insurance expenses. I don't have any, oops, I broke it expenses. I am doing pretty damn good. And all I do is show up 3 to 4 times a week and do CrossFit. That's it. It's pretty easy for the last 20 years. Just show up and do it. So anybody can do that. So should you cut out everything? You got to weigh the costs. What does it mean to you? I don't know. But again, going back to this, I would say do something. Mary Kay, Pampered Chef, doTERRA, their essential oils. Like there's another one that does essential oils. I don't know the name of it. Maybe it's that Young Living. LifeWave, Verity does this. If you want to know what she's doing there, just let me know. I'll put you in contact with her and she can explain it. Find a thing that makes sense to you and then join that. So it's not like, I'm now selling wells. I don't know. What's to sell wells? You want something that you believe in and that you've used and that actually has a use to you. And, oh, by the way, I'm getting something out of it as well. And you may think to yourself, wait, multi-level marketing, aren't those bad? Every single thing in life is multi-level marketing. It just depends on where and how fair it is. These are the most fair you can get. I sold for TTC. My quota was like $5 million. And from that 5 million, I made like 5% or something. I don't know, something super small, right? Where did the other money go? Well, it goes to everybody else in the business. So it's a multi-level, right? There's a president, then there's some CEOs or the C groups, and then there's managers, and then there's salespeople, engineers, service, marketing, all that stuff, right? How does the marketing guy make money? Well, I sold a product and that money gets split up. It's a multi-level marketing scheme, right? We're all selling this stuff. And that marketing guy is the marketer. The engineer maybe not marketing, but he might pick up the phone and now he's marketing, right? So all of it, it's the same damn thing. It's like, I don't know. It's at least it's not a Ponzi scheme. A Ponzi scheme, it was from that guy, right? When's his last name? Ponzi or something? Anyway, it's where people buy in and the only thing that's pushing the envelope forward is that other people buy in. That's actually what Social Security is. They don't invest it well and they borrow from it and they're messing it all up. But we all pay in, hoping that people behind us pay in and there's more of them so we can all take out something. That's a Ponzi scheme, Social Security. That's exactly what it is. But, the government, well, I think Trump had some sort of thing being passed where they were going to actually invest for people born between these years and they're going to see how it goes. Who knows? All right, guys, that's my 2 cents for you. Do what you can to find ways to reduce expenses and simply by elimination or joining some sort of thing at a low cost that you can expense into that makes a lot of sense because you already enjoy it, right? All right, that's my financial tips. It's not hard, but it ain't easy. You got to do something. Y'all take care.